Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, I suppose. Can I get a mic check? Mic check, mic check. What's going on? A little bit of a sell-off here this morning. I have a lot going on this week outside of trading, and so I was just gonna kind of come in and come on the mic for a little bit since Nate's out today, and just kind of give you my thoughts on where we are in the market, and then I will probably disappear again because there's just a lot going on over here this week. So, but I have been capturing some decent moves. Obviously, today we're kind of people are profit taking and we're selling off. If you're going by our internals metrics here, we are starting to get off. Obviously, we are selling off at the moment. Ticks are not looking real good at the moment. We're seven in the 700s, pushing ticks down, but we are starting to show the signals for kind of a trend sell-off day. Okay, our Vold on the SPX SPY is pushing below -3. Our advanced decline is selling off and pinning, around this 1500 level. And then you can see all morning we've been below, we've had negative ticks pretty much all morning except for a couple of little spikes. So all three of those things coming together, if those maintain throughout the remainder of the morning, this will be kind of just a continuous sell-off day. I'm guessing a lot of profit taking from names that have just ripped up after the election, and it being OPEX week. Some of that euphoria has come out of the market a little bit. I don't think we're getting a major pullback but I think this is just going to be kind of a trend drift day. Yeah, Bob, I cut UPST. I had a tight stop on that under this level here. So I was playing it off of this VP level here, right? We got a little bit of a bounce, and then it came back in here and consolidated, and then tried to go again, and then it broke. So I cut it. But, this looks like you see this, 1, 2, 3. That's essentially on the third one, right? It usually breaks. And that's the same pattern we get when we're trying to break it, an upward trend line. We come up when we touch it, right? And then we come up, we test it again, and then we test again, and either it goes or it just takes a little bit of time and then goes again. So same kind of idea, but in reverse. I'm kind of wishing I had shorted it, but it had just been up so much that I didn't trust that this was going to be a continued sell-off, and obviously didn't know that they were going to get. Was there an offering announcement? I can't remember what the news was. Yeah, an offering. So that caused that a little bit of a gap down, and then also the sell-off today. So I'm expecting, as long as these numbers hold, I'm expecting that this will just kind of be a drift down day. I'd love to be surprised on a rip back up. I might try and play some snipers, but when I have, so when we a lot of times we'll be playing the sniper signals that end up giving us the sniper 1.0s, these kind of signals here, right? And today I'm going to stay away from those reversal signals. And if I play any snipers, I will be looking for continuation plays. As you can see, we're kind of under this descending trend line in red. And so I'll just be looking to basically buy puts into bounces back up and continued moves. So if we get a little bounce here, I'm not going to try and play these sniper 1.0s because I don't think we're going to get much continuation. I think the play is going to be on the retest back into fair value gaps and then or areas that have already broken and then a continued movement to the downside. So that's how I'm going to play today as things start to play out a little more. Yeah, and really, you've got a down day. There's a couple of names, Roots taking some heat, some things that we were in the room, and this is that euphoric, run up and then profit taking, and some of that euphoria is coming out of certain names. So don't get caught bag holding would be my recommendation. Know where your risk levels are for each of your trades and cut them when they break those risk levels. Yeah, Nvidia's doing great today, isn't it? Shop's doing great, obviously. These are great. These are great buys. I mean, even if you were just playing a VWAP bounce today, that would have worked great. If you missed this entire move, could have played it here off of VWAP. John, you're down 16K in your small account. Just today or over the last few weeks or months? You want me to check Disney and Google? It's also OpEx week, so getting a little bit of a reversal and chop on a Tuesday makes some sense to me. Right? Bitter wind, you don't like AMD right now? You guys aren't friends? Um the only advice that I can give, the only advice that I would give to anybody that's down right now is um the market's down today, so you're gonna have positions. It's selling off, and names that were running that everybody was euphoric to be buying into, including us, right, are pulling back. So your positions are bound to be down today, and you may need to cut them. The idea is that during the run up in the past, I guess 5 days of trading, you were making money, and then this loss doesn't wipe out all of that, right? Because you managed your risk through that process, right? So, for instance, if you've got your 5 day run up, let's pick something. I don't know. What's one we've been doing a lot of great trading on over the last couple of days, right? APP, right? Well, APP's not down, but like if we caught this move, and let's say we made 1K, and then we tried it again on this, and we made, I'm just going to make these easy numbers, 1K, right? And then, you tried it again and you made, 5K, 500, right? So now for the week, you're up 25K or 2,500, let's just say, right? I'm just sort of picking some round numbers. And you have a trade on, and over in Root, right? Over in Root, you've taken, a couple K. So, you're up, right? Let's say you're up, 4,500 or something like that, and you still have a partial here in root. Well, you can't just let root completely go away and start to, even though you've taken this profit off, you still have a couple of contracts on, and the things are just rolling past, whatever your risk levels were, whether that was this point of control line, or if you had drawn, something more like, a trend line, or, wherever your cut line was. You want to keep these. I mean, I know this is simple stuff, and it's easier said than done. But the whole idea is that you're not carrying so much risk, per trade, that all of the work that you did to make this can just evaporate in one day of down trading. Does that make sense? Always be, my recommendation is to always be mindful of, the run-ups that you're having, because we all have euphoria as those run-ups are happening in our accounts, I'm talking about. And when you get that big run-up, right? What does Nate say? Keep it, right? It's such a slow writing with me in this mouse, right? But keep it. And the way you do that is you capture the run-up, and then this is how I do it, right? And I make good profits on a run-up, and then I start sizing down, right? Sizing down a little bit, or taking less trades, taking off overnight risk, because here during this run-up, right, you're happy, right? You're maybe even euphoric. And then what happens to some people is, okay, things are moving in my direction, I'm going to increase my size, right? And I want the next big win. I want the next big win. I want the next big win to be bigger. And what happens is the market's always going to have a reversion back to the mean, right? And if you're oversized here, or have too many positions on because things have been so good, when you do get that slight reversal, which should maybe only bring you to here, it knocks out all your profits from whatever this run up is, a couple days, a month, whatever. Right? I know that doesn't make sense. My drawings are a little crude, but you want your P&L to have small drawdowns and more up, and small drawdowns and more up. You're going to have drawdowns. You cannot avoid these. But you need to make sure that they are smaller than your run-ups. And that's how you become a profitable trader. Right? And what I've learned over the years, right, this takes a long time, is when I'm feeling euphoric and good, like I can't lose, that's when I start getting worried, right? And I stop, and I size down, I move out of trades, and sometimes I miss a further move. But what I'm protecting myself from is that, right? I've got, well, the getting is good, or I think the getting has been good, and now I want to protect that. Right? And so if something turns, like let's say root, I'm cutting it right away, and I don't want to carry a lot of overnight risk, right? So you can maintain that upward trend in your P&L. Yeah. And that's important. Yeah. Position management, account management. Yeah, a lot of times you'll see D-Man will do this. I'll do this sometimes. If I have some trades on overnight, or all of a sudden there's a big morning and everything just, everything that you had on is up, a lot of times I will just take uh, I'll close them all, and then I'll shut down my trading platform, and I won't be here in the room, or I won't come on the mic unless there's something specific I want to talk about, because you have that FOMO, or you have that euphoric feeling, and you will could potentially make, and I do make choices that are not based on solid risk reward and sound thinking, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to bounce this right here, right? Let's say, oh, I took profits on it, yesterday. It's selling off. On the 1 minute chart, it looks like it's going to bounce, but I'm not at a level yet, right? This is a level that I could see maybe trying to take a bounce off of. It's just here in no man's land, but I think I'm, God's gift to trading, and I can't lose, and I take one, and then I'm like, well, I can't be wrong, because I've had 5 trades go right. And so then this drifts past this, and I'm like, well, I'm going to let it bounce, right? It's going to bounce at the level that I probably should have taken it off of, because that's obvious, right? I just entered a little early. I was excited, blah, blah, blah. Boom, right? And now I'm like 50 to 60% down on that trade. And then it's like, well, it's almost a full loss, so I might as well keep it and see if it bounces. Maybe I'll try to add to it at another level if I really try and find another level. And then it just, and then whatever, even with your ad, it's now worthless, right? And just because, and I'm talking about myself in the past, that's what I would do. Then I'd be like, oh my God, like I just had 2 weeks of great trading, and then I nearly wiped it all out, or did wipe it all out in one afternoon. Or whatever, or 2 days, or whatever. The market shifts and I'm still in euphoric mode. Yeah. And so if some of you if some of you feel like I'm talking directly to you, it's because everybody in here has had to learn that step. Everybody in here has done that, or continues to do that. And that's the thing that's the difference between a professional trader and somebody who's learning. Is when to get, when the getting is good, and then when to step away and just, it's okay to not push the buttons on a day. It's okay to cut all your positions because the market looks like it's rolling. Oh, got a little bounce there. Because the market looks like it's rolling and it's going to sell off for a good portion of the day, and come back again at another time. But you want to protect those wins. Right, that stop out, you can always get back in. That's right. Versus just letting it completely destroy you. And then the other thing about it is, then you're sitting here, let me find one that's going down on the day, right? Not only is your capital draining, right, as something falls away and maybe you're trying to add to it, or maybe you're, oh, it's going to bounce here. Oh no, wait, it's going to bounce here. You're doing that thing, and it's just kind of pushing through all these levels, whether you're adding or not. The other thing that you're doing, right, is let's just use root as an example. Okay, the other thing that you're doing is you're watching these levels, whether you're adding and making it worse, or because we've all added at some low level and looked like a hero because we saved the trade. But really, the percentages for that tend to be somewhat low. If you have a lot of experience, you can maybe trade out and have a zero loss. But until you've learned how to do that, these drifts can happen, and you get yourself into trouble. But where I was going with that is, the other thing that you're doing by doing that and not saying, you know what, this trade is a bust because it broke my level, whatever your level was, right? Let's say it was there. You're spending your mental capital, your time, staring at a chart as it goes down and goes down and goes down, and staring over wherever you have your P&L over here, and watching your P&L go down and down and down, and just fretting over it and staring at it, versus, okay, this broke my level, right? I'm cutting it. It's gone. I'm gonna have this chart up in case there's a level I want to get back in. But then I'm gonna come over here to Nvidia or Shop, things that are moving in a direction, and I'm gonna trade this off of VWAP and catch this bounce here, right? Or on that little U that D-Man was playing today. But because you didn't cut the loser early, you're over here looking at this chart and staring at it and watching the minutes tick away on this chart, hoping to watch for a bounce, and you're missing other potential plays that could make up for the small loss as it rolled over. Does that make sense? So not only are you potentially losing actual capital, but you're spending mental capital staring at a chart that's now broken, hoping that it comes back. And it very well may. I'm not saying they don't come back, but you're going to save capital. You're going to save actual capital, and shift your mental capital to names that could be working much better. APP, Shop, Nvidia. There's always something that's up, unless it's like an awful day. There's always something that's working. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's an opportunity cost. And sometimes it's not that it's not working, that maybe it's just going sideways. And that's okay. It's not hurting you, so you can turn your mental capital to something else. Or even if you're still learning, to watching Nate's videos or going through one of our YouTube channels. You know what I mean? Like, and use that time to learn versus watching something just completely drift out of your control. Then you're in a bad mood. You're not looking for other great setups. You're draining your capital. You're draining your mental capital, like all negative things, versus turning that. I mean, like, hey, that didn't work. That's not my fault. That didn't work. The market did what the market did. We can only react, right? Yeah, Matt. That happens a lot. I sure hope this bounces. Sure hope this comes back. It's just not a strategy. That's absolutely right. Once you can get used to cutting something quickly, as soon as it breaks your level, and that's why we talk about having a plan, right? Having a trade plan. So if I had bounced Shop off of VWAP, right, what would be my plan? I would probably have taken profits a little bit here into the bounce, and I would have a trailer on for a break of the high of the day, right? But that's my winner plan. What would my loser plan be? My loser plan would be any move below VWAP, I would have cut, right? So that you keep your risk to reward a 1 to 3 type of ratio or better. And if it had broken here and said, nope, that's not going to work, great. I'm cutting this trade and I'm moving over here to Nvidia, or I'm moving over to something on the SPX that looks like it's going to bounce, or a continuation. Like I'm cutting it and moving to something that is potentially setting up, or I'm scanning and I'm looking for new setups that I like. When the market is kind of pulling down on a day, right? That means that names that you had on your list that you really liked the chart setup, but it was too extended, might actually be coming back into a good buy spot, right? So, I mean, I need to think of an example here. No, I don't want PLTR on that chart. That's my, sorry. Let's go to a different chart, right? Let's see if we, there's any names here that, can anybody think of a name that, I mean, PLTR is coming, it's coming into a small support level. I wouldn't, that's not a very clear level, but you see names that are super strong. Well, maybe APP, right? I didn't look at it for that kind of a trade, but APP is still kind of up. But you see what I mean is even names that are have been super extended and are not in a spot where, or have not been in a spot where you think you want to buy it because it's too extended. On a down day, they're pulling into levels that you could find that are good risk reward levels and take advantage of that pullback versus watching the pullback and staring at it and watching your P&L drift. You can say, oh, okay, we've got a pullback. I'm cutting the names that aren't working, and now I'm going to go find something on my watch list that I've really liked that's coming into a level that makes some sense and gives me a buying opportunity. And that's just that sort of shift in thinking. Yeah, that's a great line, Matt. Same. If I even, Matt says if he even thinks the word hope, it's time to sell. Yep. I mean, that's such a true story or true way of thinking. As soon as you start negotiating with yourself, it's usually time to cut that trade. And sometimes, listen, it reverses. Sometimes you're like, this is coming to my levels. It's broken my levels. I need to cut it. You cut it. You're really proud of your trade plan, and it reverses. But I would say that's not a bad thing to do because you've learned to follow your trade plan, right? And then you maybe need to adjust prior to putting on a trade how you're setting up your trade plan. What are your levels? You know what I mean? And then maybe your levels are a little too tight, or maybe it was just a good trade plan and you couldn't foresee that the market was going to reverse back the other direction. And that's okay. Maybe there was news or something, and that's not your fault. Does anybody have any questions there? Look, we're still holding these, Vold levels below 3. Advanced decline is still drifting down. It's drifting further down at negative 1600. You can look at this tick graph. We've had nothing but negative ticks all day, and cumulative ticks just selling off hard, right? Well, not selling off, just this continual downward momentum on the cumulative ticks. This is what we see in a sell-off kind of day. Okay, y'all. I have to jump off. Hope the rest of your day is good. I'll be in chat and I'll talk to you soon.